Welcome to Rainbow Rundown, where we cover entertainment and news stories from across the LGBT community. Mondays here on the Left of Str8 Network. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Left of Str8 Show's Rainbow Rundown, our weekly podcast where we share some of the top news and entertainment stories of the week for our LGBTQ community. We scour the stories and let our AI friends tell you about what hit our hot button for some reason or another. It is Monday, October 9th, and here's what's happening in some of our top sources. Our first story is about a talented author and great friend of the Left of Str8 show. Like many queer people alive during the 1990s, the thought of Matthew Shepard still makes Leslea Newman shudder. Shepard, a beautiful, adventurous Wyoming college student, became a symbol after his horrific murder in October 1998, waking up straight America to the scourge of anti-LGBTQ+ violence and the near-constant threat many of us live under. Newman, known by many for her revolutionary 1989 children's book about a queer family, Heather Has Two Mommies, has kept Matt close in the quarter century since he died. In 2012, she penned a masterful collection of poems about Shepard, October Morning, a song for Matthew Shepard. 11 years later, and 25 years after Matt's killing, Newman couldn't help but pay a visit to someone who now seems like an old friend. In her long literary career, Newman has also written about another gay martyr, Harvey Milk. Through her books, Newman and her readers work to make sense of these staggering losses. I acutely felt the need to use my pen in 1998 when Matthew Shepard was murdered. His voice was silenced forever, Newman tells us. I have the privilege of having a voice, and I feel it is my duty to use it to give voice to the voiceless. I wrote October Morning, a song for Matthew Shepard in order to explore the impact of the hate crime that claimed Matt's life. A quarter of a century later, I wrote Always Matt, a tribute to Matthew Shepard, to celebrate Matt's life and legacy and amplify all the good work that has been done in his name.
Also in senseless violence news, Philadelphia police have identified a suspect in the killing of gay journalist Josh Kruger and have issued an arrest warrant for him, they announced Friday. The suspect is Robert Davis, 19, who remains at large. The warrant includes charges for murder and related crimes, the Philadelphia Inquirer reports. Kruger, 39, was shot to death early Monday at his row house in the city's Point Breeze neighborhood. Police believe he was shot inside the home and went outside to seek help. They found him collapsed on the sidewalk, having been wounded 7 times, and took him to a nearby hospital, where he died. Police say Kruger and Davis knew each other. Davis had been experiencing homelessness and other problems, and Kruger was just trying to help him get through life, said Lieutenant Hamilton Marshman of the Homicide Unit, according to the Inquirer. Another police source, speaking to the paper anonymously, said Davis and Kruger had been in a relationship. Police haven't determined a motive in Kruger's killing or how Davis got into Kruger's home, which showed no sign of forced entry, Marshman said. They don't believe Davis was staying there. Kruger was a respected and award-winning journalist and activist. He had written for numerous news outlets, including the Inquirer, the Philadelphia Citizen, Philadelphia Weekly, Philadelphia City Paper, The Advocate, and Plus, a sister publication to The Advocate. Many of his articles dealt with LGBTQ issues and his experiences of homelessness and living with HIV. There will be a celebration of his life October 29th at the William Way LGBT Community Center.
Here's a follow-up report found in The Advocate on a story I reported last month. Citizens of a Northwest Virginia town will continue to have a beloved library after elected leaders voted to fund the institution after months of debate around access to books came to an end. The long-standing discord surrounding including LGBTQ-related books at Samuel's Public Library reached a resolution on Tuesday as Warren County officials and library leaders signed a collaborative agreement. The dispute ignited when the conservative group Clean Up Samuels advocated for removing LGBTQ books aimed at young readers, prompting the county to withhold crucial funding from the library. The group claimed that the books were pornographic and wanted them taken out of circulation. Samuels Public Library, which has been autonomous as a non-profit, had been targeted by the county for a takeover. That's something the library's trustees flat out rejected. This spurred a robust community reaction, with groups like Save Samuels vehemently campaigning to maintain the library's operational autonomy and the inclusivity of its collection. A notable moment in this debate transpired in a September Warren County Board of Supervisors meeting, where local real estate agent and community activist Stevie Hubbard passionately defended LGBTQ representation in library materials. Unveiling a petition with around 5,000 names, Hubbard underscored the fiscal irresponsibility and potential legal repercussions of extracting the contested books. The library has witnessed a surge in visitor numbers and donations amid the controversy, underlining the community's strong backing despite the earlier resignation of its director over the summer. The library's visitors are up 15%, according to the Washington Post. Its donors are up a quarter since last year.
In sexual health news, U.S. health officials plan to endorse a common antibiotic as a morning-after pill that gay and bisexual men can use to try to avoid some increasingly common sexually transmitted diseases. The proposed CDC guideline was released Monday, and officials will move to finalize it after a 45-day public comment period. With STD rates rising to record levels, more tools are desperately needed, said Dr. Jonathan Mermin of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The proposal comes after studies found some people who took the antibiotic doxycycline within 3 days of unprotected sex were far less likely to get chlamydia, syphilis, or gonorrhea compared with people who did not take the pills after sex. The guideline is specific to the group that has been most studied, gay and bisexual men and transgender women who had a STD in the previous 12 months and were at high risk of contracting one again. The CDC guidelines were based on 4 studies of using doxycycline against bacterial STDs. One of the most influential was a New England Journal of Medicine study earlier this year. It found that gay men, bisexual men and transgender women who previously contracted STDs and who took the pills were about 90% less likely to get chlamydia, about 80% less likely to get syphilis and more than 50% less likely to get gonorrhea compared with people who didn't take the pills after sex. The guideline should have a big impact, because many doctors have been reluctant to talk to patients about it until they heard from the CDC, Khan said. The drug's side effects include stomach problems and rashes after sun exposure. Some research has found it ineffective in heterosexual women. And widespread use of doxycycline as a preventive measure could, theoretically, contribute to mutations that make bacteria impervious to the drug. That kind of antibiotic resistance hasn't materialized in San Francisco, but it will be important to watch for, Cohen said.
In spooky news for October, Hannibal creator Bryan Fuller has been accused of sexual harassment by a former producer of his LGBT+ docuseries, Queer for Fear. In the lawsuit, Weinman claimed that Fuller cultivated and maintained a hostile work environment as a result of harassment, discrimination, sexual harassment, sexual assault and retaliation from the years 2020 to 2022. He accused Fuller of sexually assaulting him several times throughout the production of Queer for Fear, which was released on streaming service Shudder in 2022. The lawsuit included claims that Fuller inappropriately touched, verbally abused and made lewd comments towards Weinman. Fuller's lawyer, Brian Friedman, told the outlet that Weinman will be sued for defamation based on what are 100% probably false statements. There is documented evidence which completely disproves the allegations against Bryan Fuller, Friedman said. The complaint filed by Weinman alleged that Fuller once pressed his penis against Weinman's buttocks. It also claimed that the Star Trek Discovery showrunner had a preoccupation with masturbation that permeated everything and spoke of his genitalia to the point it became a running theme among employees. Additionally, the suit alleges that Fuller, who is gay, was frequently proclaiming his hatred of all gay men between 2020 and 2021. Weinman also alleged that Brian Fuller bullied, insulted, and humiliated him. The complaint claimed that Fuller retaliated any time that he perceived there to be rejection from Weinman by denying creative requests, sabotaging shots, heckling interviewees, storming off set, and ignoring plaintiff, sometimes for weeks, until plaintiff appeased him. Weinman alleged that he was removed from Queer for Fear in August 2021 after complaining about Brian Fuller's conduct. He is also suing AMC Networks, Shudder and Steakhouse Productions as he alleged they ignored all warning signs, facilitated and permitted Fuller's behavior, according to the complaint.
In music news, singer-songwriter Sufjan Stevens seemingly came out in a heartfelt Instagram post about his new album Javelin, which dropped today. As he explained, his latest record is dedicated to the light of my life, my beloved partner and best friend Evans Richardson, who passed away in April. The Grammy and Oscar-nominated musician has long been known for his pensive tunes that often resonate with the LGBTQ community. Stevens' song he created for the film, Call Me By Your Name, still brings tears to gaze everywhere. Stevens writes, "This album is dedicated to the light of my life, my beloved partner and best friend Evans Richardson, who passed away in April. He was an absolute gem of a person, full of life, love, laughter, curiosity, integrity, and joy. He was one of those rare and beautiful ones you find only once in a lifetime, precious, impeccable, and absolutely exceptional in every way." Back in September, Stevens revealed he wouldn't participate in the press and promotion for his 10th album after being diagnosed with autoimmune disorder Guillain-Barré syndrome. He received treatment and was transferred to an acute rehab, undergoing intensive physical therapy/occupational therapy, and strength training. The 48-year-old multi-instrumentalist is keeping fans abreast of his recovery on Instagram.
Next up, the Wild West is going gay again. Almost 2 decades after Brokeback Mountain, Pedro Almodovar reimagines the gay western. After turning down Brokeback Mountain almost 2 decades ago, the prolific Spanish auteur finally makes his western, with the help of Pedro Pascal and Ethan Hawke. Pedro Almodovar, the filmmaker who has defined Spanish cinema for nearly the last 4 decades, tackles the quintessential American genre in his new western short, Strange Way of Life. The 31-minute film stars Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal as estranged lovers living on the American frontier who revisit the romance of their youth before finding themselves in an Old West-style standoff. Almodovar told NBC News of the short film, which is now showing alongside his 2020 short, The Human Voice, in U.S. theaters and will stream on Mubi starting October 20th. The Western is an American genre, but it's also a male genre. And I am surprised that, at least during this century, nobody talks about that. In the richly colored short, Pedro Pascal and Ethan Hawke play former lovers whose paths have taken them to opposite ends of the desert and far from the passionate affair of their youth. Jake, Hawke, is now the solitary local sheriff of Bitter Creek, a wind-swept, one-horse town. And Silva, Pascal, lives far away on a ranch with his son, surrounded by dusty hills covered in bright green desert grass. The two are reunited when Silva unexpectedly shows up at the sheriff's door with a half-baked excuse, 25 years after a 2-month romance that almost turned into more. The former gunmen put down their pistols and settle in for a cozy catch-up, which quickly turns into a booze-fueled night of passion that, mostly, takes place off-camera. But when the sun comes up the following day, it exposes more than Silva's bare buttocks rising out of the crumpled sheets. And the men have to face their unresolved past, as well as being on opposite sides of justice thanks to a murder perpetrated by Silva's son.
Almodovar says, "You don't see explicit physical relations, but the desires are in the eyes of the actors," he said. Sometimes, this kind of censorship emphasizes what they don't do. The director pointed to the scene after the men's night of passion, when they circle each other as if in a duel, conjuring the rugged cowboys of Ford and Hawks westerns, while slowly pulling on rough cotton clothes and underwear.
And finally, it's not even talk like a pirate day. Avast, ye hearties. Our Flag Means Death is back for season 2, with the 3 new episodes now streaming on Max and 2 more coming each week throughout the month. And gay Twitter X's timbers are shivering, to say the least. That's because what seemed like a pirate comedy series, created by David Jenkins, quickly became known as a queer pirate comedy series when Our Flag Means Death's first season hit Max last year. As viewers discovered, no queerbaiting and no gay subtext on the show. Our flag lets its pride flag fly, so to speak. At a time when we're starved for queer representation on screen, Our Flag Means Death is, as one fan put it, a feast. For those of you who haven't tuned in, the semi-historical story follows 18th century landowner Stede Bonnet, Rhys Darby, who, out of a thirst for adventure, trades his high society existence for the life of a pirate. The problem is, he has no idea how to command a crew. Ed Teach, Taika Waititi, on the other hand, does. He's the fearsome pirate known on the high seas as Blackbeard. And he takes a particular interest in his fellow captain. To say more would be to steer our ship too far into spoilery waters, but take a look at this trailer. We'll wrap things up on the other side.
Dear Ed, I love everything about you. I love being near you. Breathing the same air. Fuck you, Stede Bonnet.
Do you think Blackbeard's gonna murder you?
I don't care what any of you say. He's actually a good guy.
He's a fucking madman.
If anyone objects, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I think of you often. Hope you're thinking of me as well.
Objection.
I did a punch.
That's everything we found of interest to us. You can catch the Rainbow Rundown every Monday here, and be sure to tune into the Left of Str8 Radio Network Monday through Friday and catch a different podcast every day for our LGBTQ community and straight allies. On Tuesdays, we do 5 Questions With, where we ask 5 more mostly silly and fun questions from our guests the week before. This Tuesday, for spooky season, we play 5 Questions with producer, director, and author Sam Irvin, director of Elvira's Haunted Hills and author of I Was a Teenage Monster Hunter. We also play 5 Questions with singer and drag artist Ada Vox, a hugely popular contestant from American Idol who now has a residency in Las Vegas. Wednesdays, Scott from Left of Str8 Radio and Johnny from the Queer Centric are Bears of a Certain Age, our lifestyle podcast for gay bears, chubs, and their admirers for men approaching 50 years old and up. Thursdays and Fridays are our interviews on the Left of Str8 show. This Thursday, in celebration of spooky season, we have 2 great interviews. First up is actor and singer Garrett Clayton, who is playing Dr. Frankenfurter for the OFC production of the Rocky Horror Picture Show this month. And then we interview Ralph Anthony, who is the host of the popular Scream Queer podcast, a horror and true crime podcast with new episodes every Tuesday. Friday, we welcome back to the Left of Str8 show the beautiful and talented actress, singer, producer, and director, Jenna Ushkowitz, best known for playing Tina Cohen Chong on the hit television series, Glee. And then we have an interview with a new up-and-coming country singer. Andrew Mitch calls in from Nashville to talk about his music and new single. Thanks for listening, and please follow us on social media. You can like the podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast distributor, and you can help keep us on the air by buying us a cup of coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/leftofstr8 for only $5.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.